We understand that sitting is resuming now. The commission set up to look into the violence that occurred during the Ayasa West Wuogon by-election has entered day 7. We've heard a lot of people. We've heard Interior Minister, Minister in charge of National Security. We've heard the Minister of State in charge of National Security. We've also heard from different police officials, including the commander of the SWAT team on that day, DSP Samuel Azugu. We've heard
become quite popular, mostly,
from the director of operations of the headquarters, East Legon. We've heard from the East Legon District Police Commander. We've heard from the Airport Divisional Commander. We've heard from Sam George himself this morning. We've heard from the director of operations of the National Security Secretariat. Yes.
We've heard from our own Evans Mensah.
Exactly, we've heard from our own Evans Mensah.
Okay, I just wanted to get this in quickly before we continue, Bernice, that this is down to 2 things. We are hearing 2 versions of stories. If the police and the ministers that we've heard have the right version of the story, that means that there was an alert, they suspected there was a stockpile of arms, they went to a place, they tried to use some force at a point, they fired a warning shots, and then they went their way. Sam George gives such a vivid, colorful, detailed explanation of a totally different side, seeing people fire guns in the air, you know, seeing people brutalized, seeing people beat people, and the commission has its work cut out for it.
Daniel, would have to go now to the Christian Bokasala Tusu, DSP Abena Benewa Kwabena. She's a crime officer at the East Legon police station, and she's actually taking her oath. And so let's just take you now there.
Councils may announce themselves.
Lord, with the greatest respect, my name is Vincent Akin. Lord, I appear with a witness. And with me, my learned friend, Michael Oparidas.
Yes, you are welcome.
Thank you, my Lord.
Will you, for the purposes of the record, repeat your full name to the commission?
Deputy Superintendent of Police, Abena Benewa Kwabena, and my Kwabena is spelled like the male one, Kwabena.
And you are the district crime officer for East Legon District, am I right?
Yes, my Lord.
For how long have you been at the station?
About 1 year and 2 months. I was transferred from the Nima district 2018, 27th March.
And would you confirm whether or not your station is, let me rephrase, whether or not Labawalishi is under your station?
Per police jurisdiction is supposed to be under the area of responsibility of Legon District Command.
Very well. Now, DSP, will you describe to the commission what the duties of a crime officer is?
I generally supervise criminal investigations, and that includes identifying offenses in complaints made by members of the public or information received from various sources. I direct the investigators as to how they should look for the clues that will constitute an offense or the offense under inquiry and how they should go about it. I visit scenes with the investigators as well. Yes, my Lord.
Now, On the 31st of January 2019, were you at post?
Yes, my lord.
When did you arrive at the office on the day?
I got to the office around 6:30 a.m.
You know there was a by-election in the Ayawaso West Legon constituency on the day, right?
Yes, my lord. It is the reason why I got to the office earlier than my reporting time.
Yes, B. Were you assigned any special or specific elections duties?
My name was not specifically captured on the operational plan that was brought, but because the by-election was happening within my area of responsibility, it is a basic police knowledge to every police officer that when there is an event within your area of responsibility, you take charge.
Did you play any role at all as far as election security is concerned on the day?
Not specifically, but I appointed 2 of my investigators plus myself to monitor the various polling stations within my area of responsibility. But that was not specifically assigned to me.
Yes, B. For purposes of clarity, if you say you assigned 2 of your men to monitor the polling stations, what exactly do you mean?
It is part of our responsibility to maintain law and order to ensure that things move on within the polling stations within our area of responsibility. So it was just a normal movement with my men. We were in plain clothes. I wasn't in uniform, together with my men, to ensure if there were issues to be addressed or people had concerns, so that same will be channeled to the appropriate authorities.
Did you have to move from station to station, or you were stationary?
We set ourselves to visit the polling stations within East Legon District Command. So we had 17 polling stations within East Legon District Command, and we decided to start the monitoring around 8 a.m. But before then, I monitored some information from our control room.
Did you manage to visit all these 17 polling stations under your jurisdiction?
No, my lord.
Why not?
Because my duty started before I could even start. At about 7:58 hours, our control room relayed some information to the effect that there were some shootings going on around La Baolishin. I therefore stepped out of my office to visit the scene where the information said the incident was happening. I also decided to get my divisional commander informed. My office is on the story building, so I walked to my divisional commander's office. Apparently, he had also monitored the communication from our control room, and he was also stepping out. So we met and sat in one car, together with Detective Inspector Sule Jalo, to the scene, my lord.
So if I heard you right, you together with your divisional commander and Detective Inspector Sule Jalo went to the scene of the shooting, am I right?
Exactly, my lord.
What time would this be?
The information was relayed around 7:58 a.m., so that would be around 8:10, 8:15 a.m.
DSP, will you please share with the commission what your observations were on arrival at the scene?
We got to the La Baolishin Presbyterian cluster of schools. Initially, we thought that was where the incident happened. But I saw 2 young men, about 12, 13, and I inquired because I saw them with 2 spent shells in their hands.
Please go on.
So it was these people who directed me to the actual scene, which happened to be the presidential aspirant of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Delali Brimpong. So we got there, and the initial information I gathered was that some people in brown trousers and black uniform, masked, came to the scene. Initially, they said they went to the Laobalishin Presby School, and somebody they met started taking video shots or photographs of them. That was the account the peoples I met gave to me. So when they demanded that those footages should be deleted, that person refused and ran towards Mr. Delali's residence. So those men followed him to that place. And when they got there, they decided to conduct some searches. And other people they met at the scene started throwing stones at them. And that was what necessitated the firing of live ammunition. Accounts I heard from the small boys I met.
So if I heard you right, this account you have just given of the incident was given to you by these two boys who had 2 spent shells. Is that the case?
Very well, my lord.
DSP, did you take their names?
I did, my lord. I took their names and I wanted their contacts, but they said they didn't have a phone, so they gave me the information on their teacher, the class teacher at the Laobalishin Presby School. So I have that, my lord.
So these were pupils.
I later gathered, they told me later, when I demanded for the 2 empty shells, and they told me because their school was not in session because of the by-election, they decided to come around.
Now, did they tell you where they picked these spent shells from?
They told me they found them around the school park.
Did you ask them to show you specifically where?
Yes, it was close to a location meant for garbage collection. Some 2 containers were there, and that was where they said they picked them from.
And how far is this from the house of Mr. Delali Brimpong?
It is quite far, about a kilometer.
And where exactly, from their account, did the shooting take place?
They did not tell me specifically, but they said they found them after the men had left the scene.
Yes, but do you have those shells?
My lord, I have them, but not here. My investigator has them. He's at the back, my lord.
Has there subsequently been any examination on those shells?
No, my lord. There was also somebody who had a collection of the spent shells. And that person, when I demanded for same to be handed over to me, refused and said he was going to use same for some purpose. But eventually, I asked my investigator to monitor him. So we got him at a point where he was granting some interview to some media men, and I had the collection of the empty shells captured, and it's on my phone. I later gathered his identity, and I'll pass it on to the commission so that same will be collected for ballistic analysis, my lord.
And who is this person?
He is the youth chief of Wala. I gathered, but I don't know his name. The Wala youth chief, my lord.
Yes, B. Is it a case of you not knowing his name because you didn't ask, or you didn't deem it as important?
I did, but he failed to mention same to me. It was upon my inquiries from sources at the scene I gathered he was the youth chief of Wala, my lord.
If you say youth chief of Wala, do you mean Wala in
Accra, my lord.
Accra?
Yes, my lord.
Where in Accra is called Wala?
My lord, Wala is supposed to be the name of an ethnic group. So the youth chief of that ethnic group. I have managed to get some information and I would share, my lord, later.
Yes, B.
Yes, my lord.
The youth chief of Wala. Do you know his residence?
My lord, I gathered he lives around Weja.
Have you subsequently sought to locate specifically where he lives?
I am making some arrangement with some sources I have contacted to assist. My lord, I lost my mom, so I was on leave. That's how come the process has delayed a bit. So I'm in the process of doing so, my lord.
My condolence.
Grateful, my lord.
Now, did you seek to find out from this youth chief of Wala how he came by the spent shells?
My lord, I was challenged in terms of communication because he was more comfortable in the Hausa language. So it was my investigator, Detective Inspector Sule, who dealt with him most of the time. And I was briefed afterwards, my lord.
So what did Inspector Sule tell you had transpired between himself and the youth chief of Wala?
Inspector Sule briefed me that he wanted the spent shells to be handed over to him. But he said he wasn't going to do so, but he would allow him to have just a photograph of it. So that was what he allowed him to do, and he did.
Did he have any particular reason for that?
He said he was going to use it to make his case.
Where?
He did not indicate so, my lord.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But wouldn't there have been within the power of the police to compel him to hand over evidence of shooting?
My lord, the situation at the scene was not conducive, but I knew when the time comes, I can take legal steps to have it retrieved from him, my lord.
So, as we speak, it is a fact that the police do not have in their custody the spent shells shown to them by the youth chief of Wala. Is that the case?
Exactly, my lord.
How many of your men were with you at the scene?
Just Detective Inspector Sule Jalo, my lord.
Very well. Now, how many shells in all, according to the photograph you took, are in the possession of the youth chief of Wala?
Detective Inspector Sule briefed me that he counted them. The Wala youth chief counted, and he said they were 37 spent shells, my lord.
Now, did you subsequently take a good look at the scene?
I did, my lord. I found some pieces of clues we could preserve for the crime scene team to come and process. So I improvised and had them preserved for the crime scene people to come and process.
And where are those pieces of clothing?
No clothing. I found spores with clues.
Clues.
Clues, my lord.
Very well. In that case, will you take the commission through these clues you found?
My Lord, I saw bullet marks on a red pickup in front of Mr. Brimpon's residence. I saw bullet marks on a metal container and 2 trees that are also in front of Mr. Brimpon's house. And I saw 2 spalls with blood splatters, so I managed to preserve them somehow for the crime scene. And my Lord, I must mention that before I got there, the scene had already been disturbed. People had worked on some of the places we could process for further action.
DSP.
Yes, my Lord.
Did you happen to meet the men described as being in black top and brown trouser at the scene?
No, my Lord. When we got there, they had left the scene. So I didn't meet them at all. They only described them to me when I got there and I inquired.
And you didn't previously or afterwards see them within the constituency?
No, my Lord.
Now tell the commission, apart from these people in black and brown who had left, did you meet any other people there?
I met so many people at the scene. The place happens to be a market area, sort of part of where Mr. Abimpong lives. People have their market centers in small kiosks there. So I met the women there who had come to open their shops for normal business. And then I met, if I am not mistaken, about 30 or so people gathered in front of Mr. Abimpong's house, my Lord.
Now, these 30 people who had gathered, did you seek to find out what their mission was?
I managed to talk to 1 or 2, and they said they had come to assist Mr. Brimpong in distributing food, water, and other accessories to their polling agents, my Lord.
And did they also tell you where they had come from?
They indicated various places. Some said they had come from Kasua, Waja, Mamobi, and Nima, my Lord.
Yes, B.
Yes, my Lord.
On the day of the incident, a number of people were also arrested. Did that come to your attention?
Very well, my Lord. It did, but I had the information at the scene through some conversation. I happened to be within the people who were having seen that some people had been arrested and sent to the East Legon police station. So I called Detective Inspector Sule to go to the station, verify, and call me back so that a decision could be made. I didn't want to leave the scene because I had identified some spots we could process by the crime scene. So I rather asked Detective Inspector Sule to go to the station, verify, and then call me back. And he did, my Lord.
Now, besides Detective Inspector Sule going to the station and informing you, did you have any opportunity at all to meet these people?
I did after they had been sent to the University of Ghana Hospital.
So is it the case that you did not meet them at your station?
No, my Lord.
Has it also come to your attention that some of these people had been injured?
When Inspector Sule got to the scene, he briefed me about the states they were in. They had been detained then and they were in custody, so I directed that they should be processed medical forms issued to them to seek medical attention, my lord.
And before your direction, for how long had they been at the station?
Per the records in the station diary, they were detained around 8:55 a.m.
So how long will that be?
It got to my attention around 9:15 thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken.
Close to an hour? Or an hour plus?
Yes, my lord.
Did Detective Inspector Jallo also tell you about the level of injuries sustained?
My lord, he did. And if I may quote him, he said they were wounded and they were bleeding.
So then?
So I directed that medical forms should be issued to them. And my lord, that is a basic police procedure. That when injured persons are brought to your custody, you offer them medical attention, my lord.
Basic police procedure?
Yes, my lord.
How soon after injured men get to a police station, according to the basic police procedure, are they to see or seek medical attention?
As soon as it is practicable, my lord, because you need to prepare the medical form you fill with their names and contacts before you issue them out. So as soon as you are able to prepare and hand them over to the people who need them.
DSP, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I heard you right, are you saying that the seriousness of the injury wouldn't determine the urgency, but rather clerical, as in filling papers and when it's possible? Is that what you're saying?
No, my lord, not exactly that. But they will still need the medical forms to attend to the hospital. So, and preparation of it wouldn't take more than 10 minutes. It depends on the number, but if it is just one person, it is less than a minute and same will be prepared and handed over, my lord.
Yes, please. Since you were briefed, were you given the levels of injuries sustained?
My lord, my investigator told me they were wounded. I didn't probe to ascertain the level of injured. I just felt they needed medical attention, so I directed same should be given, my lord.
At the point of your direction, had they come to your attention, for instance, that they had been at your station for close to an hour or an hour plus?
My lord, I didn't get that information. I stated earlier that they are being arrested and being sent to the police station. I had that information at the scene. So I didn't know how long they have spent at the station, my lord.
Have you subsequently seek to find out who the officer on duty was on the day?
My lord, 2 officers are always at the counter. You mean the counter and
Exactly. The counter is where the first port of call, if I'm right. Is that so?
Yes, my lord.
So then there will be officers there.
Yes, my lord.
And they will be the first port of call as always.
Yes, my lord. Koprajima, my lord.
Very well. So these people, upon being sent to the station, first of all, will meet these 2 officers. Am I right?
Yes, my lord.
And have you sought to find out why these officers did not see the need to send these people for medical attention until the DSP had to send directions?
My lord, I inquired from the station officer, and he indicated to me that when they were brought to the station by DSP Azugu, he detained them and informed the district commander. So the district commander came and had a brief interaction with them and said he was going somewhere and he will be back.
But what you are saying is that when they came to the station, the district commander was at the station, right?
I was told by the station officer that he was in his office. So after the detention, he informed him. I don't know whether he went personally to inform, but he told me he informed him. And he came and both of them entered the cell and had some brief interaction with the persons who had been brought there. 8 of them, my lord.
How many of these 8 persons were injured?
7. One said he was only bundled up together with the 7 when he got to the scene, so he declined taking the police medical form, my lord. So we issued 7 police medical form to the persons, the 7 persons, my lord.
Have you subsequently received these medical forms back?
My lord, when we issued the medical forms to the persons to attend hospital, I directed that Inspector Sule should accompany them to the hospital. Before then, I had contacted my divisional crime officer, Superintendent Mr. Kingsley Abuaje, about what I had done and the subsequent decision. And he said he would attend to them with investigators when they arrive at the hospital. So Inspector Sule went there with them and personally identified the 7 persons to my divisional crime officer and handed them over. So all the medical forms are supposed to be returned to my divisional crime officer, my lord. But subsequently, I inquired, and my information is that 7, my lord, 4 of them had been returned, and the medical officer who is supposed to write the report has promised that all of them will be ready by Thursday, my lord.
Yes, be with Thursday.
This very Thursday, my lord.
So, is it right to assume that as you sit here, you cannot tell the commission the level of injuries sustained by these persons arrested on the 31st of January 2019 and brought, first of all, to your station?
My lord, that would be included in the medical officer's report. I am in no position to determine levels of injury, but my investigator took photographs of them with their injuries at the station and when they were treated at the University of Ghana Hospital. And we have them. I have even printed the pictures in hard copy, my lord.
Very well. Can we have a look? Yes, P.
Yes, my lord.
These injured men, do you have their names?
Yes, my lord. I have their names with their contacts, my lord. But my challenge is I cannot match the names to the photographs. That is my difficulty because I did not meet them personally. But I have the names and the contacts, my lord.
Very well. Now, on the list are 8 men.
Yes, my Lord.
Are you able to tell the commission which of these 8 men sustained various degrees of injuries?
All of them, apart from the 8th person who said he didn't need a police medical form, but all of them had some injury.
Have you subsequently sought to contact any of them since you have their numbers?
My Lord, I did because I needed them to submit their medical forms to my divisional crime officer. And they said one of the party executives had collected them for the endorsement. So I contacted Theophilus. I have his contact number. So I have done that, my Lord.
And who is this Theophilus?
I got to know him as I met him personally, because when I visited the hospital after the crime scene, people had done their work. I was told he was somewhere being attended to by the medical officer because the wound he had was being sutured. So that's how come I had the personal contact with him, and I took his number so that if I needed any further clarification, I could contact him, my Lord.
And this Theophilus, is he on the list?
Yes, my Lord. And his photograph, I can identify. I can match the photograph to the name, my Lord. This is Theophilus. That's his back. Yes, my Lord.
Okay. Now, let the record reflect that the witness has pointed to a huge man wearing a black t-shirt with the inscription "Deep Cool" written on the chest. And this man is between 2 other short men in white singlet. One of the men is bald-headed. The other one, who is not bald-headed, has got blood stains in his white singlet. The second picture shows the same people, but this time their backs are facing the camera. DSP.
Yes, my Lord.
It is standard practice, isn't it, that when men are arrested, statements will be taken. Am I right?
Precisely so, my Lord.
And was that standard practice followed this time?
Not exactly, my Lord. Because of how my investigator had described their injuries to me, he said they were wounded. Before then, I had communicated with my divisional crime officer, and he was standing by with investigators to take up the initial inquiries after their treatment. So I didn't want to waste time. I just asked the investigator to accompany them to the hospital and hand over them to my divisional crime officer for further action, my Lord.
Who is responsible for taking statements at the police station?
The case officer who the complaint is referred to for investigation.
So the people at the counter, what exactly do they do?
They only take the initial complaint. So depending on whether the information is received from a source or a member of the public was to the police station to lodge the complaint, it is the counter NCO who will listen to the narration and record same in the station diary, my lord.
The station diary. Have you subsequently looked at the station diary?
I haven't, but I just picked the relevant portions of the directive I gave to the investigator, but not the station diary as in the book, but the directives I gave, I have.
Are you saying that your directives were in the form of writing?
Yes, my lord.
But you were away from...
I narrated whatever I needed to be done to the investigator over the phone, and same was recorded in the station diary, my lord.
Will it not be standard practice for you to have signed for such directives?
No, my lord, we don't sign directives. They are entered in the station diary, and I only cross-check to ascertain whether what I had told him was exactly what was recorded. So I didn't need to. It is rather the person entering the entry who will sign against it, not the person who, unless it is a directive I have personally made myself in the station diary, that I will sign.
DSP.
Yes, my lord.
In the station diary, where your directives have been recorded, in the same station diary, I want to believe that complaints were written.
Exactly, my lord.
Now, you've told the commission that you checked your directives, but you did not check the complaint. Is that what you're saying?
I did, my lord. I did.
Have
I
you
did,
got...
and I can recount the specific complaint that was made by the DSP who brought the, should I call them suspects, to the station.
And this recount, will it reflect exactly what is in the station diary, or a summary of it?
I was told by the counter NCO that he wrote the entry on a piece of paper and he transferred it into the station diary. So I assume he would record accurately, my lord.
Now, you said about a minute ago that you could recount.
If you would permit.
Very well.
So the entry was DSP Samuel Azugu, and that was recorded at 8:55 a.m. Arrested and brought in 8 suspects. With a report that these suspects were met at La Baolishin polling station, and when they were asked to leave, they refused and attacked the patrol team, hence their arrest.
And these are the exact words in the station diary?
As I might have omitted something, but it should be, I am sure, my lord.
Have you got the station diary here?
It is here, my lord.
Is it far away?
It is not, it is with my station officer, just at the back, my lord.
Yes, for the purposes of accuracy. For the purposes of accuracy, would you please read what is recorded in the station diary, the time, if it captures the names and the details?
My lord, The entry has the serial number 4242, and it was entered into the station diary at 8:56 a.m. And it reads, DSP Mr. Samuel Azugu of National Security, in charge men, brought in 8 suspects with a report that the suspects were met at the Labalation School polling station and attacked the patrol team from National Security when they were asked to leave the place, hence their arrest to the station. Not specifically here, but I tried, my
Very
lord.
close. I have to actually applaud you for that. That's very close. Now, subsequently, has your station carried out any investigation into the matter?
No, my lord. My divisional commander directed the divisional crime officer to take over from us. So where we had reached with our inquiries, it was just the basic initial complaints and the subsequent movements that were recorded on the diary of action. So we made an extract of it and handed it over to my divisional crime officer. So they have been carrying out the rest of the inquiries, my lord.
So then sitting here, you wouldn't know how far they've got into, am I right?
I have been following up. That's how come I got to know the medical forms will be ready on Thursday. And I have also made some contact with the teacher at the Labalation School Park to get the pupils I spoke to ready for their statements to be taken. So once a while, I call my divisional crime officer to inquire.
Now, the 2 spent shells you found with the schoolboys, have you got it here?
The schoolboys?
Yeah, the spent shells, the empty casing, have you got them here?
No, my lord.
Where are they?
They are in the office, my lord. I will make them available. I really wanted to have the ones I saw with the Wala chief, so that all of them will be labeled together for subsequent ballistic analysis, my lord.
Yes, we.
Yes, my lord.
You agree with me that it's been close to a month since the incident, am I right?
Very well, my lord.
Yes, I do acknowledge the fact that you were bereaved, but you will also agree with me that you have assistance. True or false? You have assistants?
I don't, but I have a station officer who is
Very
also
well.
a detective.
So then, any ballistic analysis that is supposed to be carried out on these spent shells, it didn't necessarily have to be done by you. Would you agree?
I agree, my lord.
And
But
that
I needed to have it as a full exhibit to be forwarded. And that wouldn't even be done by me because my divisional crime officer has taken over from me. I would have handed them over to him for the forwarding and analysis, my lord.
have you mentioned them to the divisional crime officer?
No, my lord.
Why not?
My lord, this information about the Wala Youth Chief, I needed to get some information about where he lives and how we can contact him. So I needed to establish some concrete information about the person. But I agree, I should have just mentioned the fact that there's this information in my custody to be given to him. I haven't done that, and I must admit that the bereavement and all that also created a bit of problem for me. So I will do that immediately.
So then, DSP,
Yes, my lord.
if the investigation has advanced and you still have not submitted this very important piece of evidence, you have then denied the team of investigators this important piece of information, which wouldn't be included. Am I right?
It could impede it a little, but it is not fatal. It can be done, analysis can be done at any point in time during the investigative process, my lord.
If you say impede it a little, what do you mean by little?
I know the analysis can help us establish lots of things to help us in our investigation, but it is not fatal because it has delayed. It can be done at any point in the investigative process, my lord.
ESP. This is an incident which has caught the attention of the whole country. You agree with me?
I do, my lord.
And the whole country, as we speak, is waiting for the outcome of the investigation. Do you agree with me?
I do, my lord.
So then, you also agree with me that any delay, even if it's a day, is very important and cannot be described as little. Will you agree?
I do, but my lord, the specials I saw with the Wala youth chief had different ones, and I thought having them and then adding the two specials I had would enable us to do a comprehensive analysis about what's actually happened. So I didn't think just the two would be enough because I was making arrangements to get all of them for a comprehensive analysis. They might have come from different weapons and not just the two. The two could have come from just one weapon. So because he had many of them, I thought having that and adding the two I had to it would give us a broader perspective on what actually happened, my lord.
Yes, we have. You mentioned the Wala Youth Chief to your divisional crime officer?
No, my lord.
When were you going to do that?
My lord.
If you were going to do that at all.
I was going to do that, but the challenge is I didn't just want to give an information without any substantive or substantial point to my divisional crime. So I didn't think just mentioning it that I saw some spent shells with somebody would be enough. I wanted to have concrete information and then hand them over to him, my lord.
Now, DSP, let me take you back to the picture you identified.
Yes, my lord.
Mr. Theophilus,
Yes, my lord.
did he give you his address?
No, my lord.
Why
I
not?
only have his contact number.
Why not?
We have his address on his statement, my lord, with my divisional crime officer,
Very
where
well.
he lives.
Does he live in Accra?
He told me so.
Where, to be specific?
He didn't mention, he just said he lives in Accra, but he did not tell me the specific location.
Is it a case that you have not checked the statement he made?
I haven't. The statements are with my divisional crime officer. I have his medical form though on my phone, but I have not read his statement. It was only the statements Detective Inspector Sule took of the person who declined taking the medical form I have read.
What does Theophilus do by way of profession?
I did not inquire, my lord. I thought those things, I didn't want it to appear like my senior is conducting an inquiry and I am interfering. So it is just the basic information about his name and his contact I have. I didn't prove further, and I knew my divisional commander, my divisional crime officer would do that, my lord.
At what point did the divisional command take over the investigation?
Same day, after the medical form had been issued to them and Detective Inspector Sule had accompanied them to the hospital. He met my divisional crime officer at the hospital because I had already called him that they were coming. So he identified them to him and handed them over, my lord.
You cannot put time to it?
That should be around 1 p.m., my lord.
Very well, thank you. Mr. Chairman, your witness.
DSP,
Yes, my lord.
you said your divisional crime officer is investigating this matter,
Yes, my lord.
and he started investigating this matter on the very same day the incident happened, the shooting happened. That's the 31st of January.
Yes, my lord.
And you don't know how far he has got so far?
I know statements have been taken from all the suspects or victims, and statements have been taken from some witnesses. Mr. Brimpon's statement had been taken, I know. It is the medical forms that are not ready yet.
All these statements are with the divisional crime officer.
Yes, my lord.
And how many medical forms are not ready?
I issued, through my directives to Detective Inspector Sule, 7 of the medical forms. And my divisional crime, they are supposed to be 16 plus hours. So 4 had been returned. And the rest will be ready on Thursday, I gathered, my lord.
So you have handed over the 4 to your divisional crime officer?
Sorry, my lord.
Have you handed over the 4 medical forms, reports to your...
They were directly handed over to them, my lord.
Okay. And why are the others not yet ready?
The endorsements demand some financial commitment. The medical officers take money for it. So my information is that somebody offered to pay for the endorsement. And because of the party activity, that's delayed a bit. That's how come the endorsement has delayed. But they have settled the bill and it will be ready on Thursday, my lord.
Who is supposed to pay for the endorsement?
Usually it is the victim or the person the medical form is issued to who pays. But I was told one executive member had offered to pay for all of them, my lord.
So if the victim doesn't have the finances to pay for the endorsement, doesn't the police have the means to pay, and so that you can get the medical forms and continue with your investigation? Don't you have an allocation for an item like that?
Not to the best of my knowledge, my lord.
So the 2 empty shells are still in your office. Why is it that you haven't handed them over to the district crime officer, the regional crime officer?
My lord, I indicated that I wanted to get those I saw with the Wala youth chief because it had other specials of the weapons that were fired. So I didn't want to just forward the 2 because I was making arrangements to get those and add them. That's how come I saw. But Detective Inspector Sule will be able to confirm whether it has been forwarded, because when my divisional crime officer took over from us, we made the extract plus every other thing we had done to him. So I know maybe the empty shells were forwarded as well, but my plan was to get those I saw and then hand them over for further action, my lord.
But you haven't informed the divisional crime officer that this youth, Wala chief, you had also seen him and You interviewed the youth wallet chief?
He was speaking Hausa. I don't, so it was mostly my investigator who speaks Hausa who dealt with him and briefed me later, my lord.
So he took statement from the youth wallet chief?
We didn't. Even the empty shells, he refused. And when we were even taking a shot of it, he did not allow us to take his full photograph. It was just the hand that had the empty shells we took. So it was a bit difficult, but I knew when we settled and we set processes in place, I could compare him to submit the shells for us to analyze, my lord.
But it's about 3 weeks now since the incident. Don't you think you have taken too long to take the necessary steps to compel him to provide whatever information?
My lord, I've gone far and results will be seen very soon.
Did you see, I'd like to show you this photograph.
My lord, this is Theophilus, the person I identified to you earlier on, my lord.
And you don't know who he is?
It was the first time I had seen him at the hospital. I had a personal encounter with him because when I went to see the others after I had finished with the crime scene team, he was not available. So I waited for him to come from the room where his wound was being sutured. And that's how come I met him personally and took his contact, my lord. But before then, I haven't had any encounter with him.
So if I understand your testimony, your station officer did not take any statements from the people who were brought to the station?
No, my lord. It was only the person who declined to take the police medical form we took a statement from. But because the rest needed medical attention and I had already communicated with my divisional crime officer, I just didn't want to delay them further. So every statement was taken at the Legon police station, my lord.
So after they were treated, they were sent to, where were they sent to?
To the Legon police station for their statements to be taken. Some of them were even taken at the hospital because the doctor says some of them were going to be detained for some time before they are discharged. So some of the statements were taken at the hospital, my lord.
And you said that you went to Mr. Delali's house where the shooting occurred, right?
Apologies for the short break there. We lost our feed from the Christian broadcaster in Osubana. Stand is working now and it's better now. We can take you back.
In evidence of the bullet marks that were seen at the site?
The crime scene team did, my lord.
Okay. Now the people you spoke to, you said some of them said they had come to distribute food. To whom?
They said they were going to distribute the food to their polling agents within the constituency around lunchtime. So they have come there to wait for that time to do so, my lord.
Did they identify the party polling agent?
The food to the NDC polling agents, my lord. They were in Mr. Brimpon's house.
And you say there were about 30 of them?
30 I could count.
Now this youth chief of Wala who was not cooperating with you, did you get any information about why he was reluctant to cooperate with you?
My lord, it was my investigator who dealt with him most of the time because of the language barrier. He told me afterwards that he said he was going to use the specials to make his own case, my lord.
And what case was that? What did your crime officer tell you the case that the youth Wala chief was going to make?
He didn't indicate so, my lord.
Thank you, DSP, for the testimony. A few questions to clarify.
Welcome, my lady.
When you got to the scene of the incident, were you the first police team to get there?
No, my lord. When the information was relayed through our control room, it was our patrol team they raised first, Papa 1, 2, 3. So it was our patrol team who was the first responder, my lord.
Had any effort been made to preserve the crime scene?
My lord, when I got to the scene, it had already been disturbed, but I made some efforts to get the spots where the blood splatters were found preserved for the crime scene. But it took them a bit of time to get there, so they had dried up, but we covered it on video, so I have it as when I met it, my lord.
It's a standard procedure that when something like this happens and the team responds, they go there and do nothing about preserving the crime scene and leave it till whenever the CID team can get there?
My lord, I think they made some effort, but before I got there, the situation had calmed down a little, but everybody was there and everybody was working anywhere. So I guess it was difficult for them to preserve. But when I went, and I think that was not their preoccupation because they needed to calm down the situation. So when I got there, I took that up whilst they also worked on the people to calm down. But we managed to get something preserved for the crime scene, my lord.
You said 8 suspects were brought to the station and 7 medical forms were issued because 1 declined.
Yes, my lady.
Is this standard procedure?
It should be. He said he was just bundled up together with the other 7. He just arrived at the scene and he was arrested together with them. So nobody touched him and he didn't have any injury on him. So he said he wouldn't take the medical form. So we took a statement to that effect, my lord.
Okay. When you met this person who turned out to be the youth chief, the Wala youth chief, and he refused to turn over,
these spent shells, you seemed to have accepted that then he could keep them. Is this standard procedure?
My Lord, I earlier indicated that because of language barrier, it was Detective Inspector Sule who dealt with him and briefed me later. But when I had the opportunity to meet him, he had already left the scene because I needed to visit the victims at the University of Ghana Hospital because there were rumors about people who had died and tensions were getting raised. So I needed to confirm that and give the information to my regional PRO. So when I came and he briefed me about the refusal of the youth chief to hand them over, I wanted to meet him personally and take him, but he had left the scene, my lady.
I know that you were bereaved, and so you were probably not paying much attention to the things, but you did not even mention it to the divisional commander that there was somebody with these shells who could be approached and for the shells to be turned over, or that you yourself even had two in your custody that you got from some schoolboys.
My lady, the bereavement did not really affect me, but as I indicated, I wanted to have concrete information on what I was going to brief them about. And so I needed to wait and get to those concrete details before I briefed. But
suppose there had been a death, and the death had been by gunshot, and you kept the shells to yourself, and the others, you allowed an unauthorized person to take custody instead of it being under proper custody and control. Do you think you'd have served the ends of justice?
No, my lord.
Thank you.
Now, back to the school, where you said you first met those two people. Two.
Yes, my lord.
Male or female?
Male.
And you see that you have their contact through their teacher.
Yes, my lord.
So have you handed them over to the team that is investigating?
Yes, my lord.
The investigation is jointly between your, or is being conducted by your divisional crime officer?
Yes, my lord.
And she at headquarters?
Yes, my lord.
Now, from where you met them and where you had those two shells to Mr. Impon's house, can you estimate the distance?
About 1 kilometer or 2. It's
Are
a
you
bit
sure?
far.
I don't think your maths is very good. Did you do O-level or SS maths? So let's try and, is this like from here to the castle gate?
No, it wouldn't be up to.
The gate where the security people are?
The main gate.
No, yes, where the security people are.
Yes, my lord.
Like from here to there?
Yes, my lord.
It's not like from here to the main public entrance on the street?
No, my lord.
Yeah, so it won't be 1 kilometer. So when you mentioned kilometer was because the weapons that they had, the pistols and the AKs, they don't travel that far. They don't travel 1 kilometer. In any case, you know that when the weapon is fired, the shells, I mean, normally are found within 5 to 10 years.
Exactly, my lord.
Yes. So the school is close to Mr. Bimpon's house, actually.
Not too close. You have to go through a certain uncompleted building before you get to Mr. Bimpon's, and that was where we used as a thoroughfare to the scene.
Okay. And the people, there was no school that day?
There was no school.
Okay. So did you ask them about when there was all that tension and people were running away and shooting was going on? Did they tell you anything about what they witnessed or heard?
They were the people who told me about how the incident happened and where they went and hid to gather the subsequent events, my Lord.
About what ages are they?
They are in JSS 1, so they are supposed to be 11, 12 years.
Okay.
2 of them are in JSS 1.
And subsequently, you went to the immediate area around Mr. Bimpon's house.
Yes, my Lord.
At that time, was Inspector Sule with you?
Initially, he was until I had the information about the arrest of the persons, and I asked him to go and verify and give me
So he
feedback.
left to go to the East Legon police station?
Yes, my Lord.
And you were left behind at the house?
Yes,
at the
my
place
Lord.
where those clues were?
Yes, my Lord.
Now, did you meet the... I'm a little reticent that we've mentioned this man's identity. I think you should have said a source, you know. Once you've mentioned his name, I feel reluctant to, because you know what might happen to him. I mean, at the least, his people will go and threaten him, and you won't get any more information from him. But where did you meet him? Or you didn't meet him that day? Where did you meet him?
It was my investigator who met and dealt with him.
Yes.
It is the reason why, because of his position and all that, it is the reason why I kept the information to myself, and I said I would do that on my own, get
yes,
concrete.
I understand. You were running him as your source. So that
Yes,
when you
my
get
Lord.
solid, important information, you give to the investigators.
Yes, my Lord.
I understand that procedure. You don't throw informants about between different police officers, isn't it?
Exactly, my
That's why you
Lord.
shouldn't have mentioned the name today. You should have asked permission of the chairman to write it or something. Anyway, so that on that day you did not see him.
I didn't, my Lord.
It was later on that your inspector traced him through some information that he got, or the two of you got.
Yes, my Lord.
And he went and he was trying to get some good information from him.
Yes, my Lord.
So that it will be given to the investigators.
Yes, my Lord.
Yes, it's not easy for you or your inspector to just pick him and hand him over to the CID. If you really wanted information, unless you're going to arrest him, isn't it?
He had information that would be relevant to our inquiry, and I felt I should treat him as a source and not a suspect.
That's what I'm saying, that it is not good procedure at that stage just to have handed him over to the investigators at CID headquarters, because you must have some good information from him.
Exactly so, my Lord.
But you have never, okay, until you met him at the hospital, you didn't know him.
No, my Lord.
So it's the inspector who knows him.
The inspector dealt with him.
And who can speak the same language with him.
Precisely, my Lord.
You don't speak Hausa. It will do you good in future.
Not at all.
You've worked in Nima.
For 5 years, my Lord.
And you didn't pick any of the few words there.
Just the basic.
How about East Legon? Have you picked a few Gan words?
I am still learning, my Lord.
We don't have 5 more years to give to you at East Legon. Okay, so when you went to the station, the people who had been arrested and brought there by DSP Azugu, they had already gone to the Legon hospital.
I did not go to the station, my Lord. It was rather Detective Inspector Sule I asked to go and verify. I gathered information about the arrest at the scene where I was.
Okay.
So I asked him to go and verify and then call me back so that I could direct for further action to be taken, my Lord.
So you first met them, or some of them, at the Legon hospital?
Yes, my Lord.
And at that time, had they already been treated?
They had been treated, and we took photographs of them, my Lord.
So the photographs you took was hospital?
We took their photographs when they were detained at the East Legon police station, because it was part of the things I asked Detective Inspector Sule to do. And then after their wounds had been treated, we took photographs as well.
Okay. So when you saw them at the hospital, more or less, they were not in as much danger as they were at the police station.
Exactly so, my lord.
And did you hear, we've been told here about somebody at 37 Military Hospital. Did you hear about that one?
I did, my lord. I was told his condition was quite critical, so they had referred him to, initially they said Kolebu, but later we gathered he had been sent to the 37 Military Hospital, my lord.
Do you know whether he's still there?
I cannot confirm, my lord, but his medical report form has been submitted to my divisional crime officer, my lord.
To the investigating team?
Yes, my lord.
Okay. So then, apart from the one at 37, is it male or female?
Male. They were all males, my lord. There was no female.
Who appeared to have been the one that was most seriously injured?
Yes, my lord.
Nobody died on that day, to your knowledge?
Not at all, my lord.
Now, this endorsement fees, the way you mentioned it, I'm sure some members of the public don't understand. So explain it to us. Explain the procedure at the hospitals.
Anytime a complaint is made at the police station and has something to do with either assault or sexual offense, we will need the medical officer's assessment of it, and then the report is what we use to do subsequent investigation.
You've been training Our Lady the whole...
My apologies, my lord.
Please continue.
So the medical form is given to the complainant or the victim, depending on the nature of the offense or the complaint lodged. The form is sent to the medical officer to endorse. And I know the endorsement fee is taken by the medical officer, so that when...
It's taken by the
medical
It's not a
officer.
personal thing. It's by the health authorities.
Yes, my lord. It is the medical officer who writes the report, who takes the money.
So
and the essence of it is...
internally generated fund which goes into the hospital fund, or it's a personal thing?
I don't know how it is handled, but I know medical officers who endorse police medical forms take money, 100 cedis,
From the suspect.
150, depending on the hospital.
And whether it's a victim or suspect, are they given receipts?
Some of them do.
Is it mandatory that they should be given receipts?
It should be.
And so if you don't have money, as Chairman said, and if there's nobody to pay for you, then your report will not be released.
Sometimes people offer to assist, especially with A.W.W sexual offenses. When you need it as an investigator to enhance your case, sometimes we even offer to pay for the victims if we realize they are in no position to do so. And when they attend police hospital, most especially, they endorse for free.
I understand. You see, you've mentioned 2 or 3 instances where luckily A.W.W, I know that the A.W.W people, they pay with their own, from their own pocket, isn't it?
Exactly so,
yes,
my
there's
lord.
no money from the state. They pay from their own pockets. And of course, the party people, when their party people are in the hospitals, not only out of such a crisis, they normally would pay, isn't it?
Exactly.
But what I'm worried about is that as a practice, if you don't have money in the system to pay for your medical report endorsement, it is not given to you, isn't it?
Exactly, my lord.
If it's some investigation that requires some agency, then the police would have to pay from their own pockets, isn't it?
We do that a lot, my lord.
That's what I was driving at, so that we all as Ghanaians, we take note of some of these things and we find out how we can probably process these things faster so that investigations are not delayed. Okay, thank you.
I'm grateful, my Lord.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Sule will be coming, right?
Yes, my Lord.
Yeah. Can you get him to find out whether the gentleman who was admitted at 37 has been discharged?
I will do that, my
So
Lord.
that we can have that information by the time he gets here.
I will do that, my Lord. I'm grateful.
Okay. You are at liberty to leave now.
I'm grateful, my Lord.
Thank you. Huh? Wait for who? No. We can't take that. By all means. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of today's sitting. We'll resume on Thursday at 10 a.m.
All right. Well, that brings day 7 of the Commission of Inquiry's work into the violence at the Ayawaso West Wogan by-election violence. You heard there, DSP Abena Benewa Kwapena, she just left. She finished giving her testimony. She's actually the East Legon District Crime Officer, telling her side of the story with regards to the suspects who were brought. I'm sure you remember the testimony given by the District Police Commander at East Legon, DSP George Asari, on how he was not involved in the election task force or the election work proper for the day. We heard DSP Abna Benewa Kwabna, respond in a different way to that, question, where she says that, well, it is normal police appreciation to know that you have to be alert or you have to be working if you happen to fall within the jurisdiction of the election, even though your name may not be included in a certain list.
Well, it was contested. DSP George Lysander Asari's claim that his name was not included was contested by his divisional commander, because the divisional commander showed a text message. The regional commander, showed a text message that he had sent him the night before, about 10 p.m., telling him that he will be needed for the election. And of course, on the benefits of hindsight, I mean, when you've seen the interrogation that DSP Asari was subjected to by former IGP Patrick Kwarteng-Champong, after saying that he was not called, he was sidelined, it was quite interesting. But Ben, for me, the key points that I saw out of her testimony was the fact that 37 shells were found. She took video, she took picture of 37 different shells. Now, there's an interesting point that we must make, because some Jata George or some Nate George asked people to pick shells for him and he found 27. So these are people who picked the shells from the ground for him and gave it to him. Now she goes to another person and finds another 37 shells. Okay. She sees 2 teenagers and they give her two shells.
So brings the number to
68. 68 different shells. That is, if we are to assume that the 29 shells Sam Jata George showed them are different from the 37 shells that she saw, and she indeed saw 37 shells with him, because she says that her inspector counted the shells in the position of this youth chief of Wala, and they found them spent shells, 37. So the question here is that when are we going to see the ballistics testing done on this? It brings us to, the weapons issue that was done by the Director of Operations at the National Security Secretariat. Which weapons were they? Yeah. Which specific guns were they? Who were they given to? Who was holding them? So that we can carry out the ballistics tests and will know. I mean, any security expert should be able to determine this. It's getting more interesting, Bernice.
Very, Daniel. And one of the things she also said was that the process was stalled because she lost her mom. I mean, our condolences to her, and the commissioners did share that as well. But the question you are asking yourself is that why would an entire investigation stall because one person has been bereaved or maybe has been put in a position in which they cannot work? So if she was hospitalized, for example, does it mean that we'd have to wait till she comes back? I mean, these are all questions that come to mind. And you realize, not to cut you in, quickly in wrapping up, that Mr. Patrick Echampong, former IGP, also wanted to, show some deficiency in their work with regards to medical forms and how
how the issues will
and victims have to pay for it.
It is something that when you go to a police station, and quickly on what you said about the leave, public service delivery in Ghana has always been called into question in some way. So, for instance, anybody can recount a time that you went to the passport office, you went to DVLA, you went to some public office, and you found out that someone is on leave, so work cannot be done. And the same inefficiency goes into resource allocation, so that if they don't have enough resources, then people have to pay with their own monies.
Well, we'd have to end it here. Daniel Dazi and myself, Bernice Abubedu Lanza. But the show will be a lot more analysis on the polls coming up shortly at 3 p.m. with Gifty Andro. And later in the day, you would hear a lot more analysis both on our radio and TV platforms. Thank you so much for staying on the JoyNews channel.